Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Vivienne Poy. Can you hear me all right?
Yes?
Hello?
No, they can't hear.
Well, this I'd get much closer.
You have to get very close.
Very close, yeah. Anyway, it's my pleasure to bring you a bit of entertainment through my hobby, which I've loved for so many years. Dr. Singer was mentioning the fact that he came over 50 years ago to Canada. I came actually now counting up 72 years ago, and 4 years after that I've had my first camera in my hand, and I've been taking pictures ever since. It's my passion. I've gone through the evolution of regular development with negatives and positive films now to the digital age, and I'm so pleased we made this transition, and I would advise all of you to embrace it because it is far superior than film. My subject matter, which includes a lot of travel images, began when I was very small with various types of images, but it really got accelerated after I met Vivienne, and following our marriage, my portfolio contains a goodly amount of her image. Now, we make a very good team because we do the traveling. She is historian, geographer, anthropologist, all these things put together because she loves to know about people and places. I do too, but I love the imagery associated with this, and so therefore I go clicking joyfully, and Vivienne then puts it all together with a story that makes sense afterwards. And you're going to see a part of this. Not loud enough?
Yeah, maybe.
Not loud enough.
And I can't get much closer than this. So therefore, there's going to be a presentation of the Silk Route, which is a relatively small part of my presentation on China. And some of you may have seen part of that, but we've included some extras in this presentation. And Vivienne will do the dissertation, and I hope that you enjoy it. But before I go, I must tell you a small little story that is interesting, because I'm a plastic surgeon. I'm supposed to make people look better from trauma or otherwise, or for the self-appreciation. And when I started practice, I was dabbling in painting, and I painted, and I knew I had difficulties because I couldn't make them look right. So finally, I said, let's do abstract, because abstracts are much easier to do because they don't really have to make much sense. And, excuse me. But I did one, I rotated around to a finally called a Grand Canyon sunset. I was very proud of it, and I told Vivienne I'm going to put it up in my first waiting room. I did that against her protestations, and after a couple of years, Vivienne said, you really must take it down. And for obvious reasons, when I took it down, it is said that my practice improved appreciably. But shortly after that, our hospital had a fundraiser called the World's Worst Art Exhibition and Auction. And Vivienne said, bring it out. And guess what? It sold for the highest amount, $4,000 that one night. Anyway, with that note, I'm going to hand you over to Vivienne, who will then give you the dissertation and the showing of the slides.
Good evening, friends. This evening, we're really going to show Neville's artistic images of the Silk Road that is within China. Now, the Silk Road is very, very long. This is the section in China. It covers 3 provinces. Wait, I can't. Okay, Xinjiang, and Gansu, and then Shanxi. That's as far as the Silk Road goes within China. But this evening, we are only showing photographs of 2 provinces. So that is of Xinjiang, this province, and this province, which is Gansu, but mainly Zhenhuang, which is very, very important part of the Silk Road. Now this is the actual picture, the actual Silk Road. You see how long it is? It goes all the way to Istanbul. Now Silk Road began in Chang'an, the ancient capital of China, in Shanxi province. You can see that at the far end on the right-hand side. The name means perpetual peace. It was changed a few times, but since the Ming Dynasty, the name had remained to today as Xi'an. That's Western peace. And of course, many of you would know that's where the terracotta warriors came from. In its heyday, Chang'an was one of the largest cities in the world. Around 750 AD, it was known as the Million People City. And it is in this very important city that the Silk Road began. What is commonly known as the Silk Road is actually a number of routes that link the east and the west of the ancient worlds. People from the west had been going to China to trade for centuries. The road was formally established during the Han Dynasty around 2nd century BC. To control the trade routes better, the government built walls and garrisoned troops along these routes. This guaranteed the safety of trade caravans so that the merchants could travel in greater numbers. Now, why was it called Silk Road and not just a trade route? The name came from the popularity of Chinese silk to the Western world. The history of silk is very interesting. It began in 27th century before Christ. The way we learned it in school when I was little was that one day a royal concubine was watching how the silkworm spun a cocoon with a silk thread from its mouth. This silk thread was very long and strong, which could be spun into fabric. The Chinese then began to raise silkworms on mulberry leaves, and they learned to harvest silk from the... What is that? Fire alarm. Flowing over and going over the caves again. There's water everywhere, and they try to grow some kind of vegetation to keep the sand from, again, covering the caves. And these are some of the other caves in the area, and a lot have not been discovered yet. All these caves and grottos have beautiful pictures in them, and some have statues as well. Most of these caves, visits are not allowed. We were very fortunate to have been led by the chief curator, so we were able to see more than most visitors to Dinhuang. You see the camels there? The two in front are two of our boys. This is a desert plant.